Get ready for Kirko Chains and the Falcons to come to town this Sunday by joining us at the Friday Football Feast in Savage tomorrow. Doors open at 8 a.m. Stop by for great food and drinks, nonstop football talk, and your chance to win great prizes, including a full-sized Winter Warrior all-white Vikings helmet. Get the full details now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Ready?
Yeah.
Jerry from Phoenix here. Anytime the Packers lose is fine with me. I would like nothing more for that franchise to just go away and move to some nasty place like Oklahoma City. They can be the Oklahoma City Dirt or the Nebraska Wind. And any remaining Packer fans have to travel to those places just to see a game from their former franchise.
Hi, Common. Mark from Stillwater. We just got to remember, if the Vikings win out, they win the Super Bowl. Skol.
It's as simple as that. If they win out, they win the Super Bowl. So
stop being worried about what team's got to beat what team. Just take care of your own business.
Yeah, that's what I would say. So, in other words, root against the Pack and enjoy it. Delicious button. I know there are people thinking, oh, you just want to get some extra rooting interest on your side for the kiddies. It makes no never mind to me. If you're hunting for the Lions, Tennessee, it's not hard to find. You open the door, and we'll be on your porch.
I always love that.
We love List Radio. We call it Lazy Radio, or at least one of the guys on Fox Sports Network, whatever it's called. What is it, Fox Sports Radio?
Sure.
What is it called? Whatever it's called. It says List Radio is Lazy Radio, and we be lazy, that's for sure. Not only do all the various websites do team power rankings, a handful of them do quarterback power rankings. We've looked at them before. I've not in quite some time, but I thought, hey, into what week 14 might be kind of interesting to see. CBS Sports does their week 14 quarterback power rankings. Tennessee, who do you think they list as the best quarterback in pro football right now?
Josh Allen.
You are correct. His numbers are actually quite tame by his standards, but he stepped up in huge spots against legit defenses, all while juggling injuries to his receiving core. We also take for granted how seamlessly he extends every play, putting his supersized athleticism to work. Who's your guess for number 2?
Who did the power rankings?
CBS Sports.
Because if you're just going off a quarterback play and you're not going off of win-losses, to me, Joe Burrow would be there, but he's on a 4-8 team, and I think that might have an impact on him. But for now, I'm going to say Burrow.
He's third.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson at number 2.
Okay.
He and the Ravens haven't quite reached unstoppable status, dropping physical fights with the Eagles and Steelers, but his dynamism, dynamism, I think is the right way to say it, still makes Baltimore one of the toughest to defend. Burrow, Hurts at number 4. Number 5, Justin Herbert at number 5. Even as the Chargers struggle to piece together explosive offensive days with scattershot weapons, Herbert has remained a pinpoint, likely playoff-bound operator for Jim Harbaugh. They got Jared Goff at number 6. You think that's about right?
Sure.
It's hard to separate his ultra-efficient marks from the Lions' sheer well of offensive firepower. You don't go 23-6 as a starter since the start of 2023 by accident, though. He distributes it well. Jordan Love at number 7. This marks 2 straight Decembers where Love is settling in as a cool, confident gunslinger. This time he's also got the benefit of a bruising ground support. Green Bay is a legit NFC force. Who do you think they have at number 8, Tennessee?
I mean, I'm not sure Jordan Love should be above Sam Darnold, so I'll say Sam Darnold.
Jaden Daniels at number 8. Think about this. Patrick Mahomes at number 9.
Number 9?
Number 9. It almost seems blasphemous. Here's what they write. There are parallels to Josh Allen's season in that he consistently comes through in the clutch, especially as a scrambler. that he's gone almost 2 years winning exclusively on the margins. And why they're holding that against him, I don't know. I think we talked about this, Tenby, when we were comparing the analysis of the Vikings being 7-1 in one-score games, in Kansas City being 9-0 in one-score games. When you read about it locally and especially nationally, the Vikings are being showered with praise. Boy, this is a sign of a great team, able to win those close games, some of them coming from behind. They're 7-1, which I agree with. But the Chiefs are 9-0 in one-score games. People are going, wow, what's wrong with this Chiefs club? And it's I think the way people view those two streaks, even though Kansas City's even better, is because of past performance. It's like, well, this is not what we expect from the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's probably why Mahomes is ranked down at that 9th spot, right? And not above some of the other quarterbacks. Because, like, again, this is just doing, and obviously these power rankings are specifically for this season, but there ain't one of those guys above him that I would take over Patrick Mahomes right now, even right now this year. If you said,
sure,
which one of these guys you want in the stretch run? Give me Pat Mahomes. And I love Josh Allen. Who doesn't? I mean, Tony Romo said, was it Romo who said he made the greatest play of the season so far? A couple of weeks ago when he had that rumbling, stumbling, bumbling touchdown run against, was it against Kansas City? Yeah, he had a great running play that got him into the end zone. I think it might have been against KC. I don't know if that was the greatest play of the season so far, but it was mighty impressive. How about Brock Purdy at number 10? I'm not paying as close attention to Brock Purdy's career as I once did, but 10 seems...
in and out of the lineup a little bit and a little beat up. And
is this a little low for this guy, Russ Wilson?
He's been good.
In 6 starts, Wilson has teased a full return to the Seahawks form, showcasing downfield aggression as well as sharp play action rifle. Maybe he really is a perfect fit in Pittsburgh. I do know one thing. He's Mr. Unlimited. He's Mr. Unlimited. You have to get down to number 12 to get to Sam Darnold.
Before you move on, I was just going to say on the Russell Wilson, he didn't start the season. Justin Fields started the season as quarterback because Russell was dealing with, a foot injury or something? Mm-hmm. Weren't the Steelers like 4-1 under Justin Fields when they made that quarterback change? And a lot of people are like, why are you making the change right now? Because, Fields wasn't lighting the league on fire, but was good enough to put the team in a spot where they're 4-1. And looks like they made the right decision because Russell's been pretty darn good.
Well, and that's where, a wise man once said, Brady's done. And there are times when quarterbacks get a little long in the tooth where you do think, well, and they don't play well, especially for an extended stretch. Like even Rodgers now. I mean, is there anybody out there that thinks Aaron Rodgers is going to return to the thrilling days of yesteryear, either this year or next year? He says he wants to play again. Probably not. But it's not always wise to write those guys off, especially when they have winning pedigrees. I always liked Russell Wilson as a player. I don't know. I'm not necessarily saying he was my favorite quarterback and the one that I would go if you were going to construct an artificial intelligence quarterback from the ground up. He would look like Russ Wilson. But the guy, I mean, he was a winner. Didn't he go to back-to-back big games, won one, lost one?
Yeah, and they lost the one at the interception at the 1 yard line.
Exactly. So the guy could flat out play. He's probably a future Hall of Famer, right? Or not? You think he is?
He might be.
Yeah.
I mean, if Eli Manning is, I think Russell Wilson. So, I was one of those that thought, well, he's got nothing left. Because didn't he make a stop in Denver last year? It was awful in Denver.
He was just awful, right?
I think awful 2 years.
Yeah, so it's like, well, that's it.
And he literally got signed by Pittsburgh for like minimum wage because Denver was paying him.
So, somewhere.
Heck of a bargain for the Steelers.
Maybe it's possible he thinks, is it Heinz Ward Field? What's the name of the Pittsburgh field?
Just Heinz Field?
Heinz Field. Maybe it looks like a Roman Coliseum to him. Maybe that's been the trick for him. Maybe he feels like a gladiator. A lot of people are saying I'm a gladiator. So I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. But Having him at number 11 isn't too far-fetched. But you got to go down to number 12, Tennessee, to get to Sammy Darnold. We'll talk about what they said about Sammy Darnold on the other side of the break. A couple of other tidbits of other controversial Vikings news I have for you. Then Deuce, what was he thinking? Going to Lincoln. He will join us at 2:30. No Rosen. He's still on vacation, but he has, I'm sure, texted you his picks for Spread Swing.
Yeah, he sent me his picks.
So we have the picks for Rosen. We'll do Spread Swing at 2:30 right here on the Fan.
If Mark Rosen was here today, his appearance would be brought to you by your Greater Twin City Honda dealers. Come hang out with the Power Trips Meat Sauce at Malone's next Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. for Coors Light Hockey Night. Watch Minnesota take on Utah while playing hockey trivia for your shot at sweet tickets to the January 9th game against Colorado. Get the full show details. Get the full details now at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
I love the sports. My whole life is just sports, guys. That weigh in on the Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line. Way to get a load of this one, Timmy, at 64686. And he's bitter. The point of people asking, why aren't you talking about the Timberwolves? Because, and then these are all capitalized, you are a sports station. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Yes, 4 exclamation marks. Good God, how dense are you two?
Can I respond?
Well, let me finish the text message is too delicious. Shouldn't matter whether a team is playing well, playing poorly, meeting or exceeding expectations. The Timberwolves are one of the big 4 sports teams in the media market in which you cover on a sports talk radio station. Simple as that. People want to hear about those teams! Exclamation mark. No matter what! Exclamation mark. There are fans of the team that want to hear about their team, whether it's patting them on the back, when they're crushing it, chewing them out, when they're stinking. Don't spit a bunch of garbage about, well, we had high expectations of the team and they aren't playing that well, so they don't deserve to be talked about. What a joke. It's not a joke. It's the truth, the whole truth, or at least some semblance of the truth. Every talk show is able to every sports show is different. We're really not a sports talk show, by the way. We talk a lot of sports, but I would call us a human interest talk show. We just talk about what's ever interesting to humans. And we have 3 hours a day. And during that 2 o'clock hour, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we cover all the sports. Wolves, Wild, Vikings, Gophers, Twins, win, lose, or draw. That's where you can, if you really want some serious sports, Mark Rosen will give it to you. He'll give you the X's and O's and dive right into it. When it's Tennessee and I, with only 2 hours, I tried to explain this one. We only have 2 hours of time. This time is very valuable, man. If you don't believe me, call the salesperson and try to book some advertising time. Do you know we are the 4th most streamed radio station in all of iHeart? All of iHeart. That's 1,200 radio stations. 1,200 properties. The only 3 stations that are streamed more than the Fan are the New York equivalent to KDWB, some hot hit station. KFI, the all news station in Los Angeles. And then I think it was explained to me the iHeart Country thing, where it's like, it's not an individual station like, we have here like K102. It's just some must be on the iHeart Radio app. That's the other one. That's true. We're number
just a generic country station. Yeah,
we're number 4. I think people like what we do. I think they like our sports coverage. We're getting report cards that we've never seen before. Unprecedented here on this radio show. And we haven't changed them. Remember, we actually talk more sports now than we used to. Remember, we would go days without talking sports at all. Especially during the summer. We never talk about the Twins. We talk about all kinds of different things. Much to the chagrin of many. Though we always talk about Common's golf game. A lot of people like that. I think more people would rather hear about my golf game than they would about the Minnesota Timberwolves. When you only have so much time, and it's valuable time, you only give it to teams when they're deserving of it. And when they're not Or when they're so bad, like when the reason we dwell more on the Wolves when they're bad is because you hear the quotes. Now, you were about to say?
No, I was just going to say, they just want to hear about all the sports teams all the time. If the Wolves had lost last night, I don't think you get that text message saying, why aren't you talking about the Wolves?
That could very well be.
It's because they want to hear the positive talk about their team.
It's your show. Talk about whatever you want. Thank you. Thank you. It's about time. There was one other one. That one was one I loved, though. It wiped the other one out. There's this one. One more thing on the Lions-Packers game. Vikings fans shouldn't prioritize a rival losing over getting a better seed in the playoffs. And I texted them back, because I do that occasionally. I said, nah, we're all just well-adjusted. You take it too seriously.
I always love that one.
Everybody, if I explain this to you, everybody's in different stages of their sports your whole life. Like, that's why I like going to the young guys, the sales guys back in the sales bullpen. They're all still young, naive, haven't tasted a championship, still love it, right? And they're back there, they're talking. So I'll go back in there and, I'll start cocking off about the Lions or talking about their Vikings clubs, and they're just so into it. They're just so into it. And I still enjoy a good game. I do. And I like the excitement of the National Football League season. And I'd like nothing better than Vikings-Lions week 18 to decide the whole ball of wax in the North. It'd be a lot of fun. And I can't lose that game. Either way, I come out a winner. And I used to, until the throw pillow game, I've explained it. I was so mad the Lions lost a game to get to the playoffs. My wife said, what's wrong with you? Because I just threw the pillow on the ground as hard as I could, and I was just cursing. She goes, what's wrong with you? And I was like, what is wrong with me? It's not that big of a deal. So, and again, there's nothing in my contract that dictates what we're supposed to talk about. Doesn't say you must talk about this or can't talk about that. One thing I did want to talk about, sports related, Diana Rossini seems to be legitimate, right?
Yes.
She works for The Athletic, I believe.
She does.
Apparently seems to be plugged in.
She's moved there within the last year. She used to be an ESPN gal.
She was an ESPN gal. She's plugged in. I think she actually has, I think I've seen where she and somebody else, she's partnered with somebody and they call it Scoop City.
Yes.
Scoop City. Rodgers could be done with the Jets, according to her. Did you see this? She was on the December 3rd edition of the Dan Lebitard Show with Stu Gatz. Dan
Lebitard.
Stu Gatz.
The Dan Lebitard Show.
Out of Miami, palm trees. Gulf of Mexico, Pacific Ocean. And they asked Rossini a direct question about Rodgers and his relationship with the franchise. It was their producer guy. He says, have you received any more clarity on Rodgers' future? Here's what she said. Yeah, they're going to be looking for a quarterback. I think the Jets are going to try to find a veteran they can trade for, perhaps sign in free agency. Because if you look at the draft, as we know, it's not a very quarterback-heavy draft class with a lot of skill. So the Jets are going to have to try to figure out how to plug for next year, I think, until they can find their future quarterback. She added she doesn't expect Rodgers to retire, that he's not done playing football, but that he's going to want to go somewhere. But it appears that her sources are telling her he will be done. Everything was sort of pointing towards that. I mean, if you go back, is it Woody Johnson? Is that the name of the owner for the Jets? If you believe the reporting, was it week 4? He was already recommending to Robert Saleh, who is now the ex-coach of the New York Jets, that he says, I think we should bench him and play Tyrod Taylor. And apparently they decided not to do it. And now we've had several people fired from the Jets. And looks like Rodgers will be the next.
I'm kind of curious as to what kind of market he would have. Because I can't imagine at this stage of his career.
No.
And he's going to want to go somewhere where there's a contender, right? He ain't going to go to some awful team and take over. I don't know how many of those teams are available that are contender but need a quarterback and would even want him to begin with.
I absolutely agree with you. Charge said it about Brady all those years ago, and he was not prophetic. He was wrong, because I think Brady, after Charge said he was done, won 3 more big games. But I do think Rodgers is done, and I'll stick with that. We'll break, come back. It'll be time for Spread Swing. Deuce joins us next. Common Man program on the Fan. Thursday, 2:30 means it's time now for Spread Swing.
Spread Swing.
Oh, Spread Swing with 4 minus 1. Mark Rosen, the legendary Channel 4 Sports. No! Sports is your whole life just sports. Anchor is on vacation. Though he did text Tenby with his picks.
Yes.
So there'll just be 3 of us, though, today. There'll be myself, Tenby, and courtesy of our Connecticut Water Systems hotline, it's none other than my firstborn, Deuce. What's up, me boy?
Little finance quiz that I took just a couple hours ago, and I'm pretty sure I got 100 on it. So
Okay.
That's always you got to take the wins where you can get them. So there's that.
Yeah, that was the first question.
I don't get my brains from you, old man. That's for sure.
What is that supposed to mean? Do you even have
Well,
one?
it means you went to the school of hard knocks.
Yeah.
You didn't really graduate from any 4-year university.
Well, you haven't graduated yet, so let's not start counting our diplomas until they're signed, sealed, and delivered.
Well, there's that.
The School of Hard Knocks, though, was it still was a grueling curriculum, and it cost quite a bit of money. Back when I was going to school, the tuition at the School of Hard Knocks was a pound of flesh and a pint of blood. But I suppose nowadays, it's because of the way costs have grown for everything, it's probably an arm and a leg.
Well, an economics and finance major, since I know everything about everything now, I can tell you that inflation, boy, it drives that sky high.
Yeah,
let me tell you.
It does.
Good Lord.
No doubt about that. So anyway, your club lost. They lost to Iowa. You were at the you were at the Axe game, though, right?
I was at the Axe game, and I was laughing up a storm the entire game. I hate the Wisconsin Badgers more than just about anything in life, and watching them get beat by the Minnesota Golden Gophers to end their 24-year bowl streak was quite hilarious. It was great.
If your choice was to watch Nebraska win a national championship or Wisconsin lose, which would you take?
Wow.
Tough decision, though, isn't it? You have to think about it.
I mean, the Badgers Nebraska's had 5 national championships. To watch the heartbreak and anguish on Wisconsin fans' faces would be quite hilarious, but since Nebraska football has been so down in the depths, I mean, I got to take Nebraska.
All right, go
good. Big Red till I die.
Here we go. Tend to be a little spread swing. Where are we at?
Yeah, let's talk about what the standings were going into this past week. Mark Rosen had the lead with 140 points. I was just 8 back at 132. Common, you're coming up as well. You're in third place at 109.5. And Deuce was in last place with minus 37.5. But Deuce is trending in the right direction.
Whoa.
He had the Green Bay Packers minus 3.5. He said they would squish the fish, and the fish were squished in that one. Packers won that game 30-17 over Miami. So Deuce got 9.5 points on that one, but he did lose his other game. He had the purple minus 3.5 against Arizona. Vikings did come back to pull off the win to save you some points there, Deuce, but they still only won by 1, so you lost 2.5 points there. But on the week, you gained 7 points. You move up to minus 30.5. Common.
Brick by brick.
You had the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving minus 10. They did hold on to win, but only won by 3 against the Bears. So you got minus 7 there. You did get a win with your other one, though. You had Denver minus 5.5 against Jameis Winston and the Cleveland Browns. They won that game by 9 thanks to Jameis's penchant for pick sixes. You gained 3.5 points there. But on the week, you lost 3.5 points. You dropped down to 106.
106. That's not that funny.
I had it.
I gotta laugh where I can.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a whole lot to laugh.
No, it hasn't been a whole lot. I had a very middle of the road week. I had Atlanta plus 1.5 against the Superchargers. They lost that game by 4. So I lost 2.5 points there, but I also had Seattle minus 2 against the New York Jets. They won that one by 5, 26-21. So I gained 3. So on the week, I literally gained half a point. I'm now up to 132.5. And Mark Rosen also had a very similar week to me. He had Houston minus 4.5 against Jacksonville. They only won by 3, so he lost 1.5 points. On Thanksgiving, he had the Cowboys minus 4 against the Giants. They won that one by 7, so he gained 3 points on the week. He gained 1.5 points. So Rosen's in first with 141.5. I'm second with 132.5. Common, you're third at 106. And Deuce is in last at minus 30.5. So it's going to be the same order it's been for a long time. Deuce, you're going first.
Spread swing.
This makes my day.
Think about it. It makes your day that your son is getting battered and bruised in the spread swing.
It does.
I should have been thrown in a child protective service.
Yeah, it is.
It's really rather sad. I think part of this animosity that I've generated towards you, old man, I think it's leading me to back the pack 2 weeks in a row. I think I'm going to do it. I think this Kitties team is in trouble. We got a lot of injuries on that defense, and that Packers defense has stifled the run game for the past few weeks. I know we got Sonic and Knuckles in the backfield, but I think they're going to have a real tough time against a very tough Packer defense. Do I want the Lions to win? Obviously. But I have my doubts. They've shown that they're not invincible. That Houston game, we barely pulled it off, even with all those turnovers. We have found ways to win, but I think the Packers are going to have our number this weekend. I'm taking Green Bay plus 3.5 at the Litter Box.
Wow. The Lions are a terrible team and a terrible city, full terrible fans, and a terrible stadium, and terrible uniforms, and terrible cheerleaders. The war has not been restored.
Spread swing.
You know that Lions letter jacket that I gave to you that I got at Nick's Sporting Goods, downtown Minneapolis, right below WCCO Radio back in 1990? I think I want it back. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I've gone back and forth. I was dooming and glooming it after I saw the injuries that the Lions suffered on Thanksgiving Day. Even though they beat the Bears, they're signing guys off the scrap heap. And I'm thinking, how can they continue to do this? But Aaron Glenn has done a really good job of all season long. The defense, you look at the defensive numbers, are not the tops in the league, but they're pretty good. Offensively, they've remained pretty healthy. And it's been hard for anybody to stop them. I think of their 11 wins, I think I read this right. If I'm wrong, someone will correct me. I think the Lions have only not won by double digits 3 times. And right now, I think there was the stat we talked about the other day. 80% of the games, roughly 81% of the games in the National Football League have been one-score games. Not when the Lions play. So I think they're going to figure out a way to do it. If you're looking for the Lions, it won't be hard to find. They'll be on the porch. I think the Lions are going to win tonight, and they'll cover without much problem at all.
Stand up, Ford Field! Stand up!
Thank you.
Spread swing.
Teneby, before you make your pick, this text message says, can we grant Deuce a third pick each week just to see if he can stay competitive?
That'll just make it even worse.
That's the thing. I think it could make it worse. That's the problem. So that's why we can't do that. But
that might be a good future rule, though. Like, who's ever in last place can have the option of a third game for a chance to help try to catch him up a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. That might be kind of fun.
We might have to do that next year.
Very good.
Make sure you remind us of that. We'll forget about. Yeah, I bet you do. We'll forget about that rule next year. So please, someone remind us of it. Before the season begins. I'm up next. This Sunday in Tampa Bay, there's going to be a lot of ahoys and R's and shiver me timbers and batten down the hatches and walking the plank because we got Buccaneers versus Raiders.
Yes.
Sunday. It's a Pirate Bowl as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 6.5-point favorites versus the Las Vegas Raiders at home. And I look at Vegas. I see a 2-10 team that is now going to be playing their third consecutive game on the road. And they basically just had their Super Bowl last week, right? They had their one game where they got up 4 against the Kansas City Chiefs on Black Friday, had a chance to win it. They blew it at the end because they can't snap a football the proper way. I have a feeling you were talking about your psychology earlier, Common. I think psychologically after that loss and what they got up for that game.
Yep.
I think they're going to be frail now. Now it's just let down city because they got nothing to play for anymore. They got to travel again for the third time in 3 weeks. And it's kind of like we just worked our butts off and we couldn't finish a snap at the end of the game to beat the 11-1 Chiefs. So I think the Vegas Raiders psychologically are going to be very weak in this game, and I'm going to take Tampa Bay -6.5 at home.
Spread swing.
In absenteeism, it's time for the legendary Mark Rosen's pick, the Frog Father.
Yeah, so Rosen sent me 4 picks, and I already warned him that I was going to snipe him on the Tampa Bay pick. But the first choice he had was Green Bay +3.5, and he even sent me a 5th pick because he wrote, Deuce may take the Packers tonight just to go against his dad. So he called it. He
did call it.
He called it that Deuce was going to take the Packers. That's who he wanted. So we got to go to Rosen's second pick. Apparently, he doesn't think much of that San Francisco 49ers team. He likes Caleb Williams. He got a coaching change in Chicago. Maybe they'll be inspired. They are going on the road to San Francisco. The Bears are 3.5-point underdogs. He's going to take Chicago. Of course, that's his favorite town. He's going to take Chicago +3.5 at San Francisco.
Spread swing.
By the way, Tennessee, just a second, if we decide to institute, an extra pick along the way next year for spread swing when you're in last place, we could call it the golden pick.
I like it.
Isn't that good?
I like that. The golden pick.
We'll call it the golden pick. God, we got great ideas here. Anyway, Deuce, go ahead.
I think my favorite for the AFC in the Super Bowl, my favorite right now, and part of it is because I'm so sick and tired of seeing Patrick Mahomes playing. I'll be sick and tired of the Travis Kelce, the Taylor Swift coverage that'll be nonstop for that entire game. My favorite for the AFC is the Buffalo Bills right now. They just had a phenomenal game. I know that McCaffrey got banged up, and it really wasn't that full 49ers squad that we've seen in previous years. They've had a down year, but regardless, the Bills looked mighty good in the snow over in Orchard Park, and I think they're going to travel to L.A. and bring that same energy. It's on the road. I have to give up 3.5 points, but I don't think that highly of this Rams club. I think Buffalo goes in there and eviscerates the L.A. Rams. I'll take Buffalo -3.5.
Very good.
Spread swing.
While I truly believe that the roar has been restored, I also believe that the horn has been reborn. I think the Vikings are going to destroy the Atlanta Falcons. I think it's not just because of Cousins' last performance where he threw 4 interceptions. I just think I don't think he's 100% from his injury. He's never been a mobile quarterback. The Falcons really aren't a very good football team. They're 500. The Vikings, with the way they can pressure a quarterback, with the kind of playing at home, in the Vikings we've talked about, they're 7-1 in one-score games. Almost all their games have been one score. I think it's time for them to have a laugher. I think this is the week they put it all together, and I think a lot of it has to do with their opponent. I think I think there's a possibility that Cousins will complete more passes to the Vikings than he will to his own receivers. I'll give the 6 points and take the soon-to-be big-game world champion Minnesota Vikings.
I've seen enough out of Cousins, Paul. Put him on ice.
You like that? You like that?
Spread swing.
This one might look a little dangerous because all they've been doing is winning one-score games, and they haven't looked like the same. Even though they're 11-1, they haven't looked like the same big game Chiefs we're accustomed to, especially on offense. But anytime the Chiefs are favored by just 4 at home, as long as they're not playing an elite team, I'm going to take a look at it, and that's what they are. They're favored by 4 over the Los Angeles Chargers, and the schedule has now turned. The calendar has turned from November to December.
Correct.
Now it's time for the Chiefs to go, all right, time to put the foot down a little bit.
Yep.
Time to get our game ready for the playoffs. The Chiefs are 2 games behind us. It's time to get serious, separate themselves. I think they're going to take this game seriously, and I think we're going to start seeing a version of the playoff Chiefs that we've seen in the past is going to pop up this weekend. I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs -4 at home against the LA Chargers.
Brilliant.
Spread swing.
That's brilliant. I think you're right.
All right, so Rosen had Green Bay +3.5. That can't go.
He wanted Vikings too, didn't he? He had it on his list.
He had Chicago +3.5 for San Francisco. That was his first pick. His third pick was Tampa Bay -6.5 versus Vegas. I stole that. So this one surprises me a little bit. This is a very uncharacteristic. Usually Rosen's picks are pretty predictable.
Yep.
This one's a little off the board for him. He's got the New York Giants +4.5 at home against the New Orleans Saints.
Huh?
And I will say, I myself was looking at that one
Really?
from a Giants perspective, just because the Saints, as weird as this might sound, their best player on offense over the last couple of weeks,
Taysom Hill,
and he's now hurt. He's out for the year.
Yep.
And they've been a little bit different offensively when they don't have Taysom the trick, and the future Hall of Famer, of course,
Yes.
according to Paul Allen. When Taysom hasn't been in, that Saints offense hasn't been the same. They're an indoor team going outdoors, traveling to partially cold weather. So I actually don't hate this Giants +4.5 that Rosen's going to go with.
Very good. So there's spread swing for Week 14. Deuce, where will you watch the Kitties game, or will you be studying instead? Hello.
I will be watching the Kitties game right at my house as I'm studying. I'm probably going to hit like a little homework plus school session, which that explains why some of my recent test grades have been a little, watching as I'm doing my schoolwork. But I'll watch the Motor City Kitties play. And I was just going to say the Roar's been restored, but I sound mighty hypocritical because I did just take their opposition for the evening.
You're gonna go for a run today, or?
I might get a little jog in. It's for Lincoln here. I mean, it's mighty cold. It's like 25 or 26 outside, and it usually is a good bit warmer than it is up in Minnesota. Usually 10, 15 degrees, but it's pretty similar from what I hear today. So I think I might brave the cold and head outside, though.
Beautiful. I'll be texting you during the game. Hit the books, and we'll talk to you very soon, and we'll see you near closer to Christmas.
Sounds great. I love you, Pops. Thanks for having me,
love
guys.
you too. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. That's Deuce, my firstborn. Later is where it is. What's on the fan tonight? Will the Lions game be on, or do we have basketball or hockey? No hockey.
Well,
I know
there's
that.
no Wolves, no Wild tonight.
So do we go ahead and do we do?
It's Lions Packers.
Thursday night football. So if you're out and about motoring around, or you don't have Amazon, because you have to have Amazon Prime to see it, correct? You have to. There's no other place to see it. I believe so. So if you don't have Amazon.
We have our Vikings-related shows in the 6 o'clock hour. So it'll be Tailgate and the Minnesota Vikings podcast. And Lions, Packers, right here on the fan.
Who do you think, Tim? Do you think the Lions win, or do you think the Packers win?
I don't know. I know you're worried about the injuries and stuff, but Detroit all year has been probably the best team in football. I'm not convinced. I think Green Bay's good. I'm not convinced they're 9-3 good. I feel like they've gotten a little bit lucky this year in terms of playing teams at the right time. I know they did have a good win last week, but it's not at Lambeau. It's in Detroit. I think the Lions are going to win tonight.
Yeah, I've got you know how I am. I go back and forth. Early in the week, I thought for sure the Packers would win because I just the injury situation in Detroit. I'm not suggesting it's the worst in pro football. It could be. I don't think it is. They're missing 17 players, including 13 on defense. But we just talked about Aaron Glenn's done a nice job with that defensive unit. The offense is sharp. I know Green Bay's got a quality defense, but I think at home, a Thursday night, I'm going to go with the Kitties. I'm going to go with the Motor City Kitties. Our unofficial poll was probably, I would bet 3 out of every 4 that responded, Viking fans said, despite the fact, we did this on the Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line, despite the fact that a Lions loss would be more beneficial to the Vikings as far as trying to get a first place and to win the NFC North, 3 out of 4 would still rather see Green Bay lose tonight. Hope that Detroit loses to Buffalo and the Vikings run the table and the Vikings win the division that way. There's another way to get there. Denby, thanks for having me.
Hey, great job.
Who's in for Password?
Meat Sauce, Max, and Amy Hockert. No, they'll be the next 2 weeks.
Very good. Well, that'll be tomorrow at 1:30. Stick around. We'll be back tomorrow at 12 noon. Stick around. Big Ticket, JG, they are next right here on the field.
Calabash, wherever you are.
The Lions are roaring in Green Bay.
Listen back to any of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.